Ainias Smith has moved on to the NFL, but Kelshaun Johnson could be his replacement.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Make every moment more as playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. It's the All-Star break, not a ton going on. You know, the best thing about FanDuel is they've always got you with the boosts and the daily bonuses. I use them all the time. They're a ton of fun to use. You have got to go use them. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back. I missed y'all. Hope everybody had a good couple of days, week and a few days while I was gone. I was fully expecting Texas A&M to get a lot more commits than they did while I was gone. Only one. Like when I was in the Keys with my parents last summer around this time, Texas A&M got like 5 commits, and I'm like, "You're kidding me?" And I couldn't do podcasts. Now only one, and it was the day I pretty much got back. So that's exciting. I've got a great story to share, and then we're gonna get right into this. I was playing cricket with some Australian friends that I made in Pamplona, Spain. And a guy comes up and asked to hop in on the game, and he was a Texas A&M graduate. And I said, "Hey," and one of my friends goes, "Our buddy hosts a Texas A&M podcast," and he looks over at me and he recognized me, and I just thought that was it was so fun to meet a listener in person. Shout out to Keaton. Good to meet you, buddy. It was really, really cool to see that. So I thought that was a fun story to share with y'all. But I'm back, excited to get back to it. So, like I said, the Aggies land Kelshaun Johnson, the 4-star wide receiver from Hitchcock, Texas. And, you know, I said Ainias Smith is gone, but here's a potential replacement. Now, obviously, you know, Kelshaun Johnson is a member of the 2025 class, so he's not going to be on this year's team. But and there have been a lot of people have been comparing him to so I saw the Ainias Smith comparisons before I watched the film. And when I watched the film, I went, that is one of the most spot on comparisons to a player I've seen in a long time. I mean, they play the game incredibly similar to one another. It's almost incredible how these two play such a similar style of football. You know, both not the most massive guys in the world, but the shiftiness is just absolutely incredible. So let's read the scouting report here on Johnson. Gabe Brooks of 24/7 Sports has this to say about Johnson. Multi-phase playmaker, slight frame, but plays with a ton of strength. Versatile prospect who could play receiver or in the secondary. Very well may be too good with the ball in his hands to keep him away from offense, which I agree with on the film. Flashes twitchy, creative run after catch ability with sudden redirecting explosion. Simply faster than his foes at the Texas high school football small school level. Owns strong multi-sport context with basketball experience. Sub 1100 meter speed. Need more concrete info regarding measurements and frame potential. Certainly fast, but could possibly squeeze a bit more juice out of the top end. Projects as a high major prospect who could provide early special teams value and long-term impact as a playmaking receiver with upside. Great scouting report there on Johnson. And, you know, he's just a guy where when you watch the film on him, when you watch the film on Johnson, it's so clear the mixture of speed and the speed and make you miss ability. And, you know, the other thing I took away from watching his film was, okay, he's not the y'all know I like versatile players. I like a receiver who, okay, he's fast, he's shifty, but he can also has a great route tree. Kelshaun Johnson, it was a lot of go balls. Yes, a lot of go balls, a lot of screens. Yes, he catches some slants and some outs, and he does it all, but his highlight plays come from those plays where you just get the football in his hands via a deep shot on the hashes or a screen pass. And players like that work. You know what I mean? That's fine. You need that. I mean, he's a guy like Ainias Smith was. You get him the football and he makes magic happen. That is what Kelshaun Johnson is going to be for Texas A&M. So he's ranked as the 196th best player in the class according to 24/7 Sports. Yeah, what I wrote here in all caps, shifty. Legitimately, that is what the first thing that stood out to me, the shiftiness. I mean, it is so evident when you look at him as a player. He makes people miss really, really well. And I think you're going to see that be his best. I don't want to say attribute because the speed's there too, but obviously the mix of the speed and the shiftiness is impressive, but just the flat out shiftiness, it's so impressive how well he makes people miss. I think he's going to be a star at the next level. I think he's got 160 is a little frightening. We're going to have now. I agree that he looks stronger than that on the tape. He doesn't look like a guy who is 160, but you know how it goes. He's going to have to put on a little bit of weight to play in the SEC at receiver. So, and he'll be able to do that, in off season, in a high school in a college weight room, he'll be able to do that. I think Johnson's a guy. I agree with the scouting report from Brooks there. I think he has early special teams upside. Now, the thing about it is you're going to have Terry Bussey, so I don't know how much special teams help you're going to need, but if you need some, he can provide early value there, but then he'll also provide you with that much needed depth at the receiver position when he gets on campus down the road. So, just a high upside player. I like everything about this film. He's the type of receiver that I like it because when you watch the film, there's things he can improve on, but the things he's good at, he's elite at. The speed, the shiftiness. I mean, he's one of those guys, and I like to think I say this rarely. Maybe I don't. Go watch the film on this kid. I promise you will not regret it if you go watch the film on him. He is a special, special player when it comes to being shifty, making people miss. You have got to go take a look at this film. I mean, it's really that impressive. It's some of the more impressive film when it comes to cuts and making people miss that I've seen in a long time. Up there with some of the stuff we see from Terry Bussey. I mean, it's similar shiftiness there, but this recruiting class is really coming together, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the class is now ranked 7th in 24/7 Sports rankings. Like I said, you got your quarterback in Hassan Longstreet, who was very, very excited about his most recent wide receiver addition. And Johnson, and then he's going to be a player with you saw in Longstreet that they're going to be just a really good 1-2 punch. I think you're going to see Coach Elko and Coach Klein in this offense add a lot more solid receivers to this class. I don't think they're done at that position. And I think that it's going to be a good recruiting class there. But I'm just telling you, Kelshaun Johnson is a player. Do not sleep on. He's a top 200 guy for a reason. He's a very good player. He's got things to work on. He's got, the frame. He's going to have to add a little bit to that frame. But when it comes to the shiftiness, the speed, and how he's going to adapt to the college level, it's going to be really special. So I cannot wait to see how good he is for the Aggies when he gets on campus and gets in a Texas A&M uniform. It's almost time for us to hear from Coach Elko at SEC Media Days. So the question is, what is he going to say? What is he going to talk about? What are the takeaways going to be? What are we expecting to hear from Coach Elko? We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So it is SEC Media Days time, ladies and gentlemen, and it's almost time for Coach Elko to take the podium and to hear from him and some of these players. And, that'll be today, Thursday, July 18th. We're going to hear from Coach Elko. We're going to hear from Shamar Turner, Terry York, and Trey Zune. And, I'm just all around excited for SEC Media. I wish I was there this year. Had I not gone to Spain, I would have obviously gone. But I'm just all around excited to hear from Coach Elko. We're hearing a lot of positive things from other coaches, from other SEC coaches, a lot of positive questions being asked by the media. People are buying in to what Mike Elko is doing at Texas A&M. And it makes sense why. Look what he's done in the portal. Look what he's doing recruiting. And I think one of the questions he's going to get asked about when it comes to recruiting is like the immediate success. Now, obviously, you're not allowed to ask questions like, oh, Coach Elko, tell us about Kelshaun Johnson. You can't ask about players, but you can ask like about the process. And I think if Coach Elko were to be asked about it, he would be very excited about how well it's gone. Because here's the deal. I mean, I think it'd be great if he went up there and threw it out in his opening statement. Because, this year heading into this year, I didn't expect the recruiting to go as well as it has gone. And I've owned that. I've said, y'all, I've been wrong on this. I did not expect Coach Elko and company to recruit the way they have so far. And we just got done talking about it with Kelshaun Johnson. You've got the number 7 class right now. I was expecting this staff to be really good at developing talent, and they have proven that I think they can do that. And on top of that, they're getting the elite players. And if you would have told me, Andrew, Coach Elko is going to do that, but he's going to do that early on into his tenure as the Texas A&M head coach, I don't know if I don't know how to laughed at you, but I would have definitely been like, okay, come on, you're pulling my leg. Let's get serious. I would have never expected what has happened this early for Coach Elko on the recruiting trail. So I really do hope that he's asked about that. Because I think he deserves to alley-oop dunk himself and his staff for what they've done. Then I want to hear him talk about Coach Colin Klein. Because here's the deal. We got Coach Elko and Coach Bateman over there on the defense. You got two minds going together on that defense. But then it's Coach Klein's show on offense. And as I've talked about, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to be one of the better play callers in college football. But I want to hear Coach Elko's thoughts on Coach Klein. How has he done so far? Has he done a great job? We heard him when he talked to the media 2 or 3 months ago say some solid things about Coach Klein. But, I want to hear continued. Is it still going well? Is there still a lot of positives? Is he developing Connor Wigman? How is this all going? And, I'm just all around really excited to hear about Coach Klein as well. Then I think he needs to address, and I'm sure he'll be asked about some of the question marks on the roster, the secondary and the offensive line. I know he's going to get asked about the offensive line. And hopefully if none of the national media does, hopefully some of the Texas A&M media down there does. That's what that would be my question if I was down there, would be, is this offensive line in a good spot? Where are we at there? Because, as y'all know, while the secondary and the offensive line are my two concerns with this roster, there's no question that my larger concern looms with the offensive line. So, we're just going to have to see how it all works out. I think that you're going to see, I think you're going to see this offensive line be better than people expect, but I would gain a lot of confidence if Coach Elko goes up on the podium today and says, listen, this offensive line, Coach Cushing, stuff is getting together here. This offensive line is looking really good. This offensive line is coming together. We've got some players stepping up. We've got some transfers stepping up. Whatever it is, I would absolutely love to hear some sort of positive response about the offensive line. Because like I said, I do believe he'll be asked. And then the secondary too, I think he's talked highly. Coach Elko has been asked about both of these positions by the local media before, and he sounded a lot more positive about the secondary than he has the offensive line. But I would love to hear him continue to sing the praises of the secondary, because I've discussed it here on the show. I mean, we've seen rankings lists come out that have Texas A&M's, corners as a top 10 unit in college football. Like, there's a world where Texas A&M secondary is good, is not just okay and gets the job done, is flat out good. And I just think if that happens, this team is in a really, really good spot. And this program is in a really, really good spot. So, I want to hear Coach Elko hopefully talk some positives about those two position groups. Then I want to hear about Connor Wigman. I mean, once again, I continue to sit here and talk about Connor Wigman being the best kept secret in college football. I believe he is, but let's start giving him his fair due. Let's start talking about Connor Wigman and screaming his praises from rooftops. I mean, he's a great player. NFL scouts believe it. I believe it. I know y'all believe it. I know this coaching staff believes it. I know all of this fan base believes it. So I want to hear some positive things about Connor Wigman. I also would love, because as I've said, I have pushed away. I don't believe there is any kind of quarterback battle. I would love to hear if Coach Elko is asked about that, how he would respond. Is he going to say, there's a little bit of a quarterback battle, this, that, whatever. I want to know how he is going to respond to that. Is he going to say, because I don't think he's just going to be like, Connor Wigman's our guy. I think he's going to say, and he might say something like, Connor's in the lead, but it's an open battle, something like that. But that's one of the questions I'm really eager to see how he's going to answer it. Just not because how he answers it is going to change my opinion, but I just think it'll create some interesting talking points if he goes up there and he's like, Connor's been looking good, but we really like our other guys, and we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna ride this thing out deep into the offseason and pick somebody right before the year starts. And then that'll raise a conversation here on this show. So I'm anxious to see how he responds to that, because once again, that's another question he's going to be asked. I also want to hear him talk about Nick Scorton and this pass rush, this defensive line as a whole. I think Texas A&M's defensive line is going to be elite once again. I think Texas A&M's going to once again be one of the better teams in all of college football when it comes to getting after the quarterback. And I just think this defense is going to flat out be elite. So for that to happen, I think you need Nick Scorton to be great. I've talked about it. Let's say Nick Scorton doesn't end up having double-digit sacks. But if he has 7 sacks and he takes up a ton of pressure, and that leads to some other guys, maybe other guys off the edge or other guys coming up the middle, whatever, coming from the secondary, whoever, come to blitz, get home, that's what matters. Now, I do believe Nick Scorton gets to double-digit sacks this year. But I'm excited for, and obviously, we're gonna hear a lot about Nick Scorton this offseason. We will continue to hear a lot about him. But I'd love to hear Coach Elko sing his praises, and because I've sat here and talked about how great I think he's going to be, and I do believe that with every ounce in me, I believe that he's going to be a great player. But I would love to see it, play out. I want to see it happen. I want to fully be sold on it. So that, I think, is what we're going to hear about Coach Elko talking about at SEC Media Days. On Friday's episode, he'll speak to the media on Thursday. Friday morning's episode will break down what he said. What did he talk about? What are our takeaways from it? But now we're going to talk a little bit about what Coach Sarkisian over at Texas had to say about the Texas A&M rivalry coming back, and I think it should get fans excited. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's back. It is back. The rivalry between Texas and Texas A&M, which we haven't seen since the Aggies joined the SEC, is finally coming back this season. And, I want to read this. So let's read this quote from Sark, and then I want to talk about my perspective on this. So Coach Sarkisian had this say, it's a great game. It's a game, like I said, that divides households and one that it's interesting. I listen to our players talk sometimes, and they're like, our players are probably way more excited for this game than most fans would probably think because we haven't played the game in a while. But the majority of the players on our rosters probably went on visits together at, if not one school, both schools, and one chose Texas and one guy chose Texas A&M. I think that's a great deal. I think there's a great deal of excitement. I know Coach Elko has done a great job in the program in a short time being there. It's going to be a great environment in Kyle Field Thanksgiving weekend, so we're definitely looking forward to it. Great quote from Coach Sark there. And he's right. Great to hear some praise for Coach Elko from Coach Sarkisian. Respect there from a great football coach to another great football coach. And, I think it's cool to hear that the players are as pumped up about this as I think the fans are. And, you make the point. It's like, so for example, I am 23 going on 24. So when Texas A&M joined the SEC, I was about 12 years old, right? So you got to understand, like growing up, I was into football. I watched football with my dad since I could open my eyes. I'm pretty sure literally you can ask my dad. The first thing I did with him was watch a football game. Like I was born either on a Saturday or a Sunday. So we were either watching an NFL football game or a college football game. That's a historian. He's sticking to it. And I believe him because I've watched football with him every weekend my entire life. But, you really get into it more at that age of 12, 13, 14, for me at least. Obviously, I was into it, but what I'm talking about, like when your team loses, you want to cry. That's when I got into it. And so, it just for people my age, which is, these players, a lot of them are younger than me, a few are around my age. They don't really know that. And I think that it's going to, I originally thought it was going to take a little while for the rivalry between, to really get back into between these players. I don't think it's going to take as long. I think the players are appreciating the history of this rivalry and going, okay, this is serious. We got to win this for Texas. We got to win this for A&M. And I love and respect that from both of these programs. Both of these teams don't want to lose this game. The Longhorns are joining the SEC, and these two programs hate one another. Respectfully hate one another. You know what I mean? Or maybe disrespectfully hate one another, depending on your opinion on it. But it's going to be fun to see this rivalry back. And I think it's cool to see from Coach Sark, and I'm anxious to hear if Coach Elko has any comments on this, but how the players are for, Coach Elko, what are his players' thoughts on this? But it's just fun to see that these players are bought in. These players are excited about this game. It means a lot to us fans, to Texas fans. It means a lot all around the state of Texas. And I think these players are excited about it, and that's going to make one of the most forgotten about best rivalries in college football great once again. And I know that I am very excited to see that play out. That is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank y'all so much for being here every single day. Really, really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for bearing with me while I was out of town. I'm back. We're back to normal 5 days a week. We're back. We're back to normal here at Locked On Aggies. So once again, thank you for bearing with me while I was out of town. Ton of fun stuff coming up. I mean, once again, ladies and gentlemen, football is soon. We are getting close to football being soon. A month and a half, and we have football, and a huge game that is. So I'm excited about it. Appreciate y'all being here every single day and bearing with me while I was out of town. Hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today, and we will see you tomorrow.